Authorities carried out a multi-state search on land and water Thursday for a U.S. Army reservist who they say killed 18 people and wounded 13 in a mass shooting at a bowling alley and a bar that sent panicked patrons scrambling under tables and behind bowling pins and gripped the entire state of Maine in fear. Schools, doctors' offices, and grocery stores closed, and people stayed behind locked doors in cities as far away as 50 miles from the scenes of Wednesday night shootings in Lewiston. President Joe Biden ordered all U.S. flags be flown at half-staff as condolences poured in from around the nation at home, including from Maine native and author Stephen King, who called it madness. The attack stunned a state of only 1.3 million people that has one of the country's lowest homicide rates, 29 killings in all of 2022. Police said they have no reported sightings of the suspect, Robert Card, since the shooting at Skemmening's Bar and Grill and at Spare Time Recreation, a bowling alley about 4 miles away. The Androscoggin County Sheriff's Office released 2 photos of the suspect walking into the bowling alley with the rifle raised to his shoulder. Card underwent a mental health evaluation in mid-July after he began acting erratically during training, a U.S. official told the Associated Press. A telephone number listed for Card in public records was not in service. Maine Governor Janet Mills promised to do whatever was needed to find Card and to hold whoever is responsible for this atrocity accountable, and to seek justice for the victims and their families. We are not, and we will not, rest in this endeavor, she said. 8 murder warrants were issued for Card, 40 after authorities identified 8 of the victims, police said. 10 more will likely be issued once the names of the rest of the dead are confirmed, said Maine State Police Colonel William Ross. 3 of the 13 people wounded in the shootings were in critical condition, and 5 were hospitalized but stable, Central Maine Medical Center officials said. The attack started at Spare Time, where a children's bowling league was taking place, just before 7 p.m. Wednesday. One bowler, who identified himself only as Brandon, said he heard about 10 shots, thinking the first was a balloon popping. I had my back turned to the door, and as soon as I turned and saw it was not a balloon, he was holding a weapon, I just booked it, he told the AP. Brandon said he scrambled down the length of the alley, sliding into the pin area and climbing up to hide in the machinery. Less than 15 minutes after the shooting began, numerous 911 calls started coming in from Schmenge's, which was offering 25% off discounts to customers who work in the bar or restaurant industry. Patrick Poulin was supposed to be at the bowling center with his 15-year-old son, who is in a league that was practicing Wednesday. They stayed home, but he estimates there were probably several dozen young bowlers ages 4 to 18 along with their parents in a facility. Poland's brother was there, he said, and spearheaded some of the children outside when the shooting began. And shepherded some of the children outside when the shooting began. He's pretty shook up, Poland said Thursday, and it's just sinking in today like, wow, I was very close to being there, and a lot of people that got hurt, I know. April Stevens lives in the same neighborhood where one of the shootings took place. She turned on all her lights overnight and locked her doors. She knew someone killed at the bar and another person injured needed surgery. I'm still working because I can work from home. My husband canceled his job, stayed to stay home with me. We're praying for everyone, Stevens said through tears. Authorities launched a multi-state search for Card on land and water. The Coast Guard sent out a patrol boat Thursday morning along the Quebec River, but after hours of searching, they found nothing out of the ordinary, said Chief Petty Officer Ryan Smith, who is in charge of the Coast Guard's Booth Bay Harbor Station. Story goes on for a little bit longer. I'm gonna just probably get to this part down here because it's important. The shooting marks the 36th mass killing in the United States this year, according to a database maintained by the Associated Press and USA Today in its partnership with Northeastern University. Maine doesn't require permits to carry guns, and the state has a long-standing culture of gun ownership that is tied to its traditions of hunting and sport shooting. Keeping in mind the strong support for gun rights, lawmakers passed the Yellow Flag Law in 2019 that require police to seek a medical evaluation of anyone believed to be dangerous before then trying to take their guns away. However, critics charged there was a weaker version of the tougher red flag laws that many other states have adopted. Author Stephen King responded to the shootings Thursday morning in a pair of posts on X, formerly known as Twitter. The shooting occurred less than 50 miles from where I live. I went to high school in Lisbon. It's the rapid-fire killing machines, people. This is madness. Name of freedom. Stop electing apologists for murder. Stop electing apologists for murder, he wrote. Is it a surprise that there's another mass shooting in the United States? Not at all. As cruel as it is for me to say that, we have one every day. The thing is, most of them don't get any kind of national attention, and typically the only way we hear about one of them in any sustained period is if it's about 10 or more people that are murdered. But this one stands out for two reasons. One is that it's in a state that isn't really that big. Maine has, over 1 million people, but that still is peanuts compared to somewhere like California or Texas or Florida and New York. And it's a state that's, when it comes to the taking of life, pretty tame, I would say. They had only 20 something murders last year. But the biggest and scariest part of this is the fact that the shooter has still not yet been found. That is because most of the killers in these different incidents are effectively on a suicide mission, in the sense that they go in there, they know when they start blasting people that they're probably going to be taken out by either the police or some other person. It astonishes me that he was able to not only go in there and kill, again, at least 18 people. We don't know if the body toll is going to rise up because this guy still hasn't been found, so it could theoretically be even more people. But kill multiple people, then basically vanish, right? With no sign of any type. We don't know what happened to him. So I completely understand the lockdown, because somebody could say, oh, you shouldn't lock down a whole state over one murderer. No. In a state like Maine, where this is not a normal thing, like it'd be one thing if it was California, for example, or Texas, where it's just such a common occurrence, and there's so many, millions of people that to turn the whole state upside down for that one shooter would have some, just because of like the land mass as well. But considering how small Maine is, and this is like extremely out of the ordinary, they have really every right to react in the way that they have, where it's a lockdown, don't come outside your house, stay home. And all of this happened at a bowling alley. A bowling alley with a bunch of kids, people, and I guess that I'm not surprised, because if you remember the Uvalde shooting was at a school, so was Sandy Hook. The Orlando nightclub one was in a nightclub, people were dancing, trying to have some fun, and that happened. So, and even look at the Vegas shooting. That was a group of concert goers all trying to listen to some country music and getting killed just by bullets falling from the sky. And I said for a while that the Vegas shooting was always the most disturbing and scariest one to me, because you had this guy that was just blasting down on this crowd. They didn't know what was coming, or it was just so rare to see one of these shooters be that strategic and to have such a, I guess, aerial advantage over the people that they're attacking. But in this case, this is mainly scary for the fact that they still haven't found the guy. Like, I'm not kidding, and I hope it doesn't happen, but we could very well, in a day or 2 days or even 3 days, hear about how they found him in a parking lot, and then they saw 2 or 3 corpses there as well that he took out before he took himself out. I mean, and clearly this is not someone who wanted to die. Otherwise, he would have stayed there and kept shooting. So I could sit here and talk about gun laws, but I feel like I've kind of just exhausted myself on that one. This country is never going to change. Realistically, we have about 300 million people. About half of them could be killed by firearms, and these lawmakers, if you want to call them that, would pass nothing. There still would be civilians that are anti any type of gun control, because this is just what they do. As long as it's not happening to them, it doesn't matter. Like I said, you saw the Congressman Steve Scalise get shot during a shooting and then go right back to peddling his NRA nonsense. So as long as it's unfortunate that there's so much obsession over guns to the point where things like this can happen with frequency. It's not a one-time thing. It's a one-time thing in Maine, maybe, but just like across the U.S., it's happening over and over again, month after month, week after week, day after day. And people just don't care enough to actually change laws or do anything they haven't done before. So it's unfortunately just going to be another chapter of the never-ending gun violence of the United States. And I hope the shooter is found. And I hope he doesn't get anyone else, because this is not something to play around with. But in the United States, we know that a person's life is worth less than someone's right to have weapons that they can use to kill a bunch of people if they decide to.